What is up, Connect 7 family? Welcome to season 3, episode 6, Popping Out of the Authenticity. Now, you may think that is a very interesting title, but honestly, this whole episode was inspired by me and my partner because whew, we're going to be peeling back another layer of authenticity. So, if you haven't found out, season 3 is all about authenticity, and I come to find on this journey that authenticity has new layers to it, and it's more so like it's not always like, oh my gosh, I feel vulnerable or raw, but it's also facing certain truths and realizing how you can be your best. And it revolves a lot of just funny stuff. So, because I'm just laughing over here. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about censorship a bit and uncensoring. And now, I say all of this because for those of you who do not know me personally yet, I advise you to take a seat or whatever you're doing because you're in for a whole different side of myself. And speaking of sides, right? So censorship. I've been realizing since I've started my podcast back in, I believe it's 2018, November 2018, I believe, that, I was finding my way, finding out what works for me, what doesn't, exploring. As those of you who have been listeners since I started the podcast, there was a lot of times where I was pausing. It was new seasons. I was adding different things, just trying to figure things out, right? And if you're a creative person, I'm sure you can relate to this. And even if you're not, just in life, we do things and we try to figure them out. So, as you know, for some of you who've known me outside of the podcast, I can be a very outlandish person, right? And what I mean by that is I will say some off the wall things, and that's okay. Like, it's normal. I'm going to bring out your non-serious side, and I will it will be the authentic you. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, you'll have the you that's at work, the you that's when you're doing business, the you that's when you're with your family. But then when it comes to me and you, I'm going to get the real you, right? So that's usually the uncensored version. And so I say all of this because during the podcast, I would find myself censoring myself. And I would record episodes, and it was just like, in the back of my mind, it was like, you can do better. Like, you could redo this whole episode. And I would just fight that thought of like, well, that's just me being a perfectionist, so I'm not going to do that. And sorry if my mic sounds a little weird. I'm rubbing my eyes because they want to burn all of a sudden. Anyways, yeah, I would find myself like I would record episode, and it's just like, yeah, you could redo that. And up until a few days ago, I've been discovering what that was. What was the source of that? And the source of that was, you're not being your true self when you record the episodes. And I really had to take a moment to like dive into that. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Talking to Thaddeus. Thaddeus like, what do you mean? What's going on? What are you trying to throw at me? And myself was just like, yeah, bro, like, you really censor yourself. And you give the version of like when you're just meeting people or you're at work, you have a censoring. You do that. And certain people that you're cool with will see those different sides of you. And I've sprinkled a little bit of that side of me on the podcast. And so when I get to know people and they get to see this side of me, which all of you are going to see soon, they're like shocked. They're really like, oh my gosh, I never knew this. Like, I never knew you were like this. And it was just like, it took some time. Like, you gotta earn that, And so, and I'm telling you, like, I've had bosses where 50% of the people hated him, 50% of the people kind of liked him. But if me and the boss talk behind closed doors, oh yeah, I'm getting the street version of the boss. And it was funny. Like, I've had whole bosses literally say, I'm going to beat your ass if you don't do what you're supposed to do. I'm talking about not talking to me like an employee. It was like, you have the outside of the office talk with him, like, hey Thad, like, could you do this for me when you get a second? Yeah, sure. And behind closed doors, it was just like they would say, hey, I'm gonna need you to do this for me. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. And I give them this look like, but who the fuck do you think you are? And they literally will respond with like, bitch, I will beat your ass outside these doors. Don't fuck around. Like, fuck around and find out. I promise you, you don't want this smoke. And I'm like, sir or ma'am, how could you speak to an employee that way? They're like, get the fuck out of my office, right? So that's how we speak, right? Now, I say this because, again, on the podcast, y'all don't really get that much. And that's what myself was just like telling me is like, bro, like, you need to bring that version of you. Like, that's who you really are. And if we're talking about a podcast where you're connecting with people and in this season you're being authentic, that needs to come out. And I did a little TikTok video and I was just like, I realize I don't cuss some of y'all out like y'all need to be. Because some of y'all understand better when you're being cussed at, right? And I say this again for those who are new to the episode, to the show. When I cuss, it is never in a like a derogatory way. It's never in like a sexist way. It's literally me with the shits. And that's just what it is. It's like, it's pure, we're just with the shits. So you will hear my favorite cuss words, right? Where I'm like, these hoes over here. And it's like, it's not saying women, it's literally like everybody. But I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just funny stuff. Like, it's the best way I can describe it to you. It's the version of you when you're alone in the car and you're driving and that person, cuts you off. And it's that version of you that you say that slick shit, right? And it's a little bit of everything that comes out. So it's like that. That's the version that I'm talking about. The you behind closed doors. So I say all of that, to say this. My name is Thaddeus and welcome to the uncensored version of myself. Because I really feel as though a lot of hoes out here really do need to be cussed out. I'm so serious, right? And so I was just struggling with that. And I would say certain things, but I would, again, censor it on my podcast. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm outlandish, so I'm going to kind of bring that down here. But the lesson that I got out of this was when you're creating your own thing, right? You're creating your own platform, whatever it is, you feel the best when you're your most authentic self. And that looks different for everybody. Some of us are our most authentic self when we're out in nature and we're just weird. Like, we can be weird and talk to ourselves out loud because there ain't a lot of people around. Or, we feel most ourselves like when we're alone and we can put on our jammies and have our mix match socks and have our hair in weird like positions. Whatever it is, weird styles, right? Like, you feel your most authentic self and it feels good. And so it's just like bringing that version of yourself into the things that you love to do, i.e. for me, is recording the podcast, is recording the episodes. And so I wasn't really bringing the full version of me to my episodes, to my entire platform. And it was a disservice to me, but ultimately I felt like it was like a big disservice to you all who listen. And again, it goes to those who do know me outside of the podcast. They could literally tell you like the shit that I have said to them. They are shocked because they're just like, how does one put those words together? And so that's where we're at now of like, we finna just say it how the fuck it is, and it is what it is. So now I'm just like, damn, okay, I gotta go. Now the episodes like that I make now, I'm gonna have to, click the uncensored version because the shit that comes out of my mouth is really gonna be funny. Or, I feel like it'll fit the crowd, especially the type of listeners that I have, like those who hit me up after like the podcast, or they're talking or emailing me or whatnot, is really like there's a lot of cuss words in them, and it's not, again, it's never in a negative way. It's just some funny shit that we're saying. So, what is the point of this episode, right? Because usually I like to share lessons. So, I've kind of said it already. But the point is, the lessons in this is being your authentic self and doing it in the things that you love. And if you have a passion for something, come at it authentically. If there's something that you really love, come at it authentically. And what I'm coming to find is that you'll have to work through your barriers that, are unique to you when it comes to being your authentic self. So, as y'all know, I always tell on myself on the podcast because it's like, well, y'all will learn if, this person put their ass out there. So this is me putting my ass out here. For me, I would always censor myself because it was just all about presentation with the fields of work that I had. So it was just like, making sure you're presentable, speaking respectful, different things like that. And what I would come to find was that's just what I was used to. And so I would do that when I was meeting new people, having new friends, meeting new coworkers, bosses, because, you have to do that in some places. And I just brought that into the podcast. And so what I would find is the closer I got with people, the more they got to know my outlandish self. So my authentic self. And I brung it out of everyone, right? Because my biggest thing is just, if we're going to chat and we're going to connect, I want to know the authentic version of you. Bitch, I want to know, how are you emotionally? How are you mentally? Like, who pissed you off? Why is it that when that cat peed on your sister's, clothes, it really made you think of your ex? Like, what does the urine have to do with your ex's, like, smell? I don't know. It's just like, because I've had weird conversations with people, and it's like, those are the best conversations. Like, we're walking down the street and, perfect. We're walking down the street in Miami, and there's a lady who has her titties out, assaulting a guy with her left titty because he didn't give her some Sprite. And it makes you wonder, like, why would you hit him with your left titty? Like, I want to know what made you think that was okay. And why did he just take it? And why did he really look physically assaulted by your left titty? Like, it's those conversations. And then when you have it with someone who's next to you and they're like, we're going to pretend we didn't see that. But I'm just like, I kind of want to see how this plays out, because there is never really a chance that you can say that I was walking down Miami, before we went to this concert, and we seen somebody get assaulted by someone beating them with their left titty because they didn't give them some Sprite. Who, you know what I mean? Like, who talks about these things? I want to talk about those things. And so it's just like, I like to bring those out of people, of let's talk about the weird shit that you're not going to talk about to other people because they're going to think you're weird, right? So I noticed that I would bring these things out of people. So if you're listening and you haven't met me yet and you're getting to know me, I best believe we're going to have conversations like this. So just be prepared. So that was a layer that I had to learn too. Another was just like that fear of judgment from other people, of like, okay, I'm here and I'm present, but like when, I'm at work per se, and this person comes in who's a regular, it really makes me want to punch a child. I just, like, that's the energy that she gives me. But I can't say that, you know what I mean? Because it's just, wow, like, that's why when you see this lady, she makes you feel like you want to punch a child. And it's just like, I kind of feel as though she should have been punched as a child. But it's like, you can't say that. You can't be that version of yourself at work. You just have to smile, nod, and keep it moving. And she's a great lady, but her energy just gives punch me, right? I wouldn't do it. Now, did I see her get punched later down the line? I did. And I was on shift that day. I definitely did. Did I do anything about it because I was the manager at the time? No, because it wasn't none of my business, right? You got to mind your business. So it's just like, again, those fear of judgment, like you just can't openly say that. And so I would, again, censor myself, like, why you, because my face is going to say it before my mouth does. And I just have these facial expressions that I can't control. And so if I see this lady and all of a sudden I look like I got an attitude and people are like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, you know what? I just had it was an old thought. My bad. That was censoring. I can't say what I just told y'all. So again, fear of judgment, right? Again, workplaces, the new people you're around, right? So speaking of new people, I have this. Okay, it's funny. They may hear this podcast later down the line, and they're gonna know it's about them, and that's okay. So, like when you're meeting new people. So, as you know, we moved to New Zealand, so it's we're meeting new friend groups. So, me and my partner, we can be pretty dark with our jokes. So it's just like, oh wait, we can't do that just yet until y'all get to know us, because it's just like it may really be in the back of your mind that we are like that, and it's just like, no. So a joke between me and my partner when we were meeting new friends, we were at the house, it was like, yeah, like, we just moved here to New Zealand, and he kept me in the basement. Like, she was saying that I kept her in the basement and that I didn't let her see people. And so I just moved her and uprooted her out of the country away from her family and things like that. And I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, I did it right. And so the friends were like, their eyes was like, and we're like, no, we're joking. I'm like, we're definitely joking. But again, you just invited us to your house. You don't know us really from a can of paint. And we just came from a different country. So you have no idea our history behind it. But it's just like, I promise you, I'm like, bro, we're in Florida. We don't even have basements. Some do, apparently. I didn't know that. But I'm like, where I was from, we ain't have basements. So no. Couldn't do it. And I was like, you don't know this girl. I was like, I couldn't hold her down if I wanted to. She would literally fight me and go places. Hell, I would be the one in the basement. But they don't know that. So you can't say those things. So it's like, you got to have a little censor. And so those would be a few things that I would like struggle with, because it's just like, okay, I know I'm going to say some outlandish shit. And the way my thought process goes sometimes, because it can be random. And I have like a crazy sense of humor sometimes, or I just have, what do they call those? Intrusive thoughts. And it's just like, my intrusive thoughts aren't like, you need to get help. My intrusive thoughts are like just some random shit. And so I would see something and then I would just laugh, and people are like, what is so funny? And I have to make up something like, oh yeah, I thought it was an old memory and it made me laugh. But in reality, it was just like I'm really trying to give y'all a real life scenario. Like, I think, what was it? I think I was walking somewhere, and and TikTok is usually kind of guilty for some of these things, but I would literally, I was looking at something. I don't eat meat or nothing like that, but I seen like this turkey or whatever, turkey meat or something like that. And immediately I'm in my head like greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ham, raw, like the Thanksgiving song, right? And so I'm like dancing a little bit in my head, and then I'm just like laughing, but outside there people are like, what are you laughing at? And it's like, well, if I tell you that I looked at this turkey meat and it made me think of the Thanksgiving song and dance a little bit to it, you're going to look at me weird. And the fact that I'm saying this to you out loud, I would look at me weird. And now we're both looking at me and feeling weird. And now I feel some type of way. So no. So it's just like, again, everybody has their unique barriers. Of course, mine are a little bit more unique. But hey, I'm bold enough. I'm authentic enough to say what they are. So, again, coming at everything authentically. I can barely get the damn words out, Lord. So, yes. Yes, that's pretty much the point. Is just like, you have to work through those barriers, whatever it is, for you to be authentic. And some of us have genuine fears of like, You know, there was a time where I was being my full self and people didn't accept me, or, you know, people looked at me differently. So there are challenges to being authentic, but I think once you work through those challenges and you're more so coming at the things that you love with the most authenticity that you can bring, I feel as though what you will feel it's hard to put into words, but it'll be the most fulfilling thing. It'll be the most, like, I can't say loving, but it's just like you get that sense of like, man, that really felt good to just relax, be yourself, and just openly talk. And so I say all of that to say these next episodes from here on out are going to be outlandish, and I'm going to say some crazy ass shit. So do be prepared. I don't know if I'm going to keep embarrassing myself with some of the thoughts that I had, because y'all might look at me like I'm crazy, and that's okay. That really is, because you'll know probably what I'm thinking, and it just makes it easier. But I guarantee you, I will say this again. If we do meet each other in person, we're gonna have some crazy conversations, and you're gonna be okay with it because you're gonna laugh and you're gonna be your most authentic self, and you're gonna be like, man, that dude was weird, but like, I don't know, I felt good, you know. It'll happen. You'll probably be uncomfortable in the beginning, but it's okay. That's how you grow. You know, I'm already a tall black guy, so, you know, you're already going to be a little different with that, but it's okay. You'll get through it. We'll get through it. You'll laugh, and yeah, that's where we're at. So this was a short podcast episode, but I just wanted y'all to meet me for me, and know that you can be your full authentic self with a thing that you love. And that's okay. And even if you are weird, like, you know, some people feel their best when they squirt a little ketchup on their chest. You know what I mean? Oh, that kind of rhymed. But yeah, some people feel their best when they squirt a little ketchup on their chest. And if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. And lastly, I will say, going back to the title of this episode, talking with my partner, she was just like, yeah, like, I know you're outlandish. So like, I know you be saying things like, damn, like, when I, like, for the regular person, it says, like, when I was born, or I was born on May 19th, whatever. My usual version is I popped out the pussy September 22nd, right? So just so y'all know, that's literally how I say my birthday. So, like, if you ask me when's your birthday, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, and I would filter it and say, yeah, I was born on this day. But now it's just like, just so you know, in my head, it's like, oh yeah, when were you born? Well, I popped out the pussy at like September 22nd. So yeah. And so she was like, you know, like, you can name this like the either episode or something, like, instead of popping out the pussy, it's like popping out the authenticity. And I was like, you know, I like that. Like, it's a weird ring. I like it. And so I was just like, you know what, let's just name an episode. And that's how that came to be. So now that you guys know me for me, I don't know if you should be afraid, but you most certainly will be entertained. So with that being said, guys, have a fantastic, have an authentic day. You know, squirt a little ketchup on your chest if you want to do that. And I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon. Ciao, ciao.